In order, it is Monday, January 20th, year 2014. It is 7:04, immediately following the special public meeting we had on the CDBG grant. If there's anyone present who may require special assistance to participate in this public meeting, please let us know and we'll try to accommodate you. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Councilman Nick. Here. Councilman Ford. Here. Councilman Edelman.
Here.
Mayor Powell.
Here. Agenda item number 4 is to approve tonight's agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
We have a motion and a second. Any further comments, questions? Councilman Logan?
Aye.
Councilman Porter? Tonight's agenda has been approved. Agenda item number 5 is approved consent agenda. The consent agenda consists of the minutes of January 6, 2014 regular city council meeting and the January 14, 2014 special city council meeting. Set date of Monday, February 3rd, 2014 at 7 p.m. for the regular city council meeting. Approved the claims register and approved permits for Charlene Hatley, 107 North First Ave, bathroom remodel.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
It's too early, isn't it? Look at your, look at your resolution 1401. The first and third Mondays of each month, except on the first Monday of Thursday before the fourth day of the month.
3 comes before. All right.
And move that to the 10th.
That's what we're suggesting. Does that work for you? Does that work for you, Bill?
Sure.
Lori? There's a school board meeting. It's my wife's birthday, so if she's gonna be at school board
So
meeting, I
you're,
can be. Otherwise, I don't know. Jim, does it work for you?
Yeah.
So we will set the date of Monday, February 10th, 2014 at 7 p.m. for regular city council meeting.
so I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the change of February 10th for the next meeting.
Second.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Any further discussions or comments?
Yeah, I've got some questions on the claims register. When I spoke the other day, I'm not quite in agreement with the city paying for some of the fees charged by Aaron Rodenberg.
Okay.
And there's at least a couple of them, they're both $30 fees that I don't think the city should be liable for. There's more that I don't have any information on, but there's at least 2 there. One was Councilman Johnson calling, obviously he could have called the mayor, city office for that information. And quite frankly, Rodenberg should have told him too. And the other one was his conference with Matt Stearman regarding Vicki Schroeder wasn't pertinent to city matters, and I don't think we should be paying. So that's $60 there that I would say the city should not be liable.
Other comments?
We had kind of discussed that also, and you said you had a conversation there with,
I did have a conversation with her. Give me 1 second. I have to remember wrong.
okay.
There was so the attorney, Vicky is working with an attorney, or has been working with an attorney since coming to work for the organization, even prior to coming to work for the organization. Obviously, we're familiar with the situation. Her attorney contacted Aaron Rodenberg, the new council, the new mayor came in to represent and be accountable for the city of Logan. And he wanted to know at that point if they had any desire to replace Vicky at that point, or any other of the city workers that he should know about or be concerned about. And so Aaron at that point said, he just said he does not know of anything of the nature around us replacing anybody, and that he just had a quick conversation with him and said, no, to his knowledge, there's not. Secondly, he's not been asked to do anything with any of that. And what he felt is it saved him, the other attorney, from writing us a letter, us having to respond to that letter, and then go ahead and probably pay for additional funds to respond to a letter or two from the attorney. The other thing he commented on was that he serves the public, or the citizens of Logan as well. And from time to time, although not in Logan, but in other communities, he has fielded a call now and then where they are comfortable going to the city council or mayor or the city administration. And he tries to put those things to rest as well too. He said that he would be concerned if that happened frequently, but he says probably once, maybe twice is the time that since he's been city attorney that he can think of, and they're very small charges.
Are you content with the responses?
I guess what I would say is I questioned him as well and put him on notice that really he should probably get a hold of myself quickly through an email or a phone call just to see if it's appropriate to respond or not before spending city funds. And he said that was fair. So he doesn't go back in time, but it does go forward in time. And I think we have something on the agenda that kind of talks about how we want to work with the attorney. The other question that you have, I don't know if it was in the responses that I asked him about his bill to itemize it. He sent that back to us, and I forwarded it to everybody. And I don't remember which one you're pointing out there, but I don't know if that one was in there or not. To be honest.
Well, yeah.
But that's not so much, I mean, I agree with you, Aaron should have said, that's something you can easily get. We don't need to spend city money to do that. But it's not really Aaron's fault if he chose to. The way it was set up, I mean, that,
The city attorney serves at the pleasure of the council.
So it's up to
He was
the
serving-
council to,
That's exactly right.
okay.
The council can come up with a process or procedures on how they wish to interact with the city attorney.
I would say that does throw up some red flags for me, because what I'm hearing Aaron saying is any citizen who has a issue that they don't trust coming to the council, they can just call up and use the city attorney. I mean, that's what I'm hearing him say, and I don't think that's a legitimate.
He picks up the phone, responds, like you said, with a short conversation.
And the city gets billed.
We get a $30 charge for what he's saying is a 2-minute phone call.
Right.
And,
I addressed that with him, and what he said was this: if it's out of control, he gets that, and we should sit down and have a conversation about that. If it happens once a year, or once every couple of years, or 18 months or so, it probably, isn't a big deal. Going forward, we can set the expectation. He says, you just let me know what you want to do, and I will handle it. A lot of noise and a lot of confusion
Yes.
in the past.
Yes. That needs to be addressed.
So would you want to approve it without the $60? Do you want to approve it with the $60?
if you're content, it's a tenth of the bill, it's a $600 bill. If you're content with it, I think we should vote on it the way it was motioned.
I'm content where we are today going forward, the understanding that I have with him
I
going
agree.
forward. I'm not suggesting that everything in the past I'm content with, but so we have a motion and a second, is that correct?
Yep, I'm good.
Any other questions? Okay, Councilmember Edelman, Coors, DeWitt.
Aye.
Okay. Consent agenda has been approved. Change of the next council meeting February 10th versus February 3rd. Which gets us right into agenda item number 6, which is discuss and approve resolution 14-01 pertaining to policies and procedures as set by the council. This is an item that we tabled last meeting. And to refresh everybody's memory, be it resolved that the City Council has recommended the adoption of the following procedures. Number 1, date of the council meetings, which Marilyn was referencing tonight. First and third Mondays of each month, except when the first Monday occurs before the fourth day of the month. Then the second and fourth Mondays will be the council meeting dates. Designation of the Logan State Bank as a depository. It's tough to say that, Logan State Bank. It's kind of new, but as a depository for all municipal funds and securities, and the Community Bank of Logan. So really it's designation of the Logan Bank, Logan State Bank, and Community Bank. Appoint city attorney, which is Aaron Rodenberg. That was the question we had last time. We wanted more information on, which we'll get to. Mayor appointments. Mayor Pro Tem Jim Edelman serve at the pleasure of the mayor until the end of his term on December 31st, 2063. Meeting? 2017. And the police chief Aaron Brenza.
I already thought the 17 was the time. This is a year at a time, right? Shouldn't that be on 14? This is a year at a time.
Designation of the Logan Herald Observer is a designated place for the official publication. Number 6 is retain all present city employees.
I do applaud your commitment to serve as mayor until 63.
I don't think we had any discussion or any disagreement with anything on here. We wanted more information about number 3, which is appointment of city attorney, which is Aaron Rodenberg. I have talked numerous times with Aaron Rodenberg. He knows we're having this discussion. He will serve at the pleasure of the council. He understands it's a year-to-year thing and they're reappointed. And he says it is what it is, and so have your discussion and let me know what you wish to do. That being said, I've had a couple of discussions going forward. First, Aaron Rodenberg. Aaron's fees are $150 an hour and $50 an hour of travel time, just so we're clear on what we have today currently. I had a conversation with Chris Covey. Chris Covey is with McGrath North, and they serve a lot of communities as well too, as their city attorney. And McGrath North fees, and I sent this around to you all. I'm reading the paragraph here on the fees. McGrath North fees are based on the amount of time worked on the client's behalf, obviously. Each lawyer and legal assistant has an hourly billing rate based generally on experience and knowledge. The hourly rate and time expended on your behalf will be the basis for determining the fee. At the present time, the billing rate is $210. For the purpose of this engagement, I will not charge my hourly rate for travel time to and from Logan unless it exceeds 2 trips per month. The third is Rick Frank. His official name is Derek, so Derek Frank. He's in Denison, Iowa. And Rick is the attorney for 24 school districts, which Logan Magnolia is one of the districts that he's an attorney for. He has several communities and cities as well: West Side, Charter Oak, Auburn, Lytton, Denison, to name a few. He said there was others as well too. He charges $125 an hour. He said it's been there for several years. He's not saying it's in stone, it'll never go up, but as attorneys go, they review those every couple of years and they do tend to go up. Same rate for travel, so it's $125 an hour for travel. And all of these, really, Aaron Rodenberg and Rick Frank, really no contract. They just serve at the will of the council. So if the council isn't happy with services at any point, you can just cancel. For the most part, it's a little bit more of a contractual arrangement with McGrath, but you can get out of that if it's not working out for us as well, too. A little bit more formalized. And I think those are the incumbent and the two others that we talked about as potentials.
The McGrath North, that's a firm, right? I mean, there's
It is a
multiple,
firm. It is a firm.
and the others just...
And they have additional folks, additional attorneys. So if Chris Covey could not attend the meeting or needed additional help, they have additional help that they can provide.
And the others are just lone wolves and...
Aaron Rodenberg is for the most part. And Rick Frank said that, I think he's with a firm, but I think he's the primary contact. And I think he's the one that traditionally does most of the work.
I know when I was sitting on that end of the table, there were several times, Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong, but with Rodenberg being the only guy, when you needed him, there were problems with that, correct?
That is correct.
I mean, hard to overcome problems, or?
In the past, just the obstacles to go through to contact him were plentiful.
Okay.
But yeah, there were several attempts made before the first contact was actually made, so.
I don't know.
Okay, that was my only thought,
Right.
with a firm having multiple
Right.
resources. At the same time, $210 an hour is...
Versus 125 versus 150.
Right.
I know travel time, but I would hope we don't have all the travel time and needs for travel time in the future.
And I mean, just from my opinion, I do like the connection that he has with already doing work for the school, being familiar with our community, somewhat of a local in a way.
And I asked him about any conflicts, and he said there really isn't any that he could think of, because he does this, the city of Denison, he also has a Denison school district as well too, so he didn't anticipate any conflicts whatsoever.
Do you know anybody on the school board that might have experience?
Lori might too.
I mean, have you had any positives, negatives?
I've had positives as far as...
Positives?
Yeah, as far as dealing with Mr. Frank. And I don't think he comes very often physically. I think he's on the telephone. So he tries to be very careful with expenses and does as much on the phone as he can, on speakerphone. Right. I think they're pretty happy. I think the city or the school is pretty happy with him. I did not talk to the administration or anything, which we certainly could do that.
There is one other intangible, correct me if I'm wrong, but McGrath North is based out of the same building you're based out of, correct?
Correct.
That is I mean, to have you right there every day if something, I mean, that is
Is he going to charge you for elevator time?
He hasn't yet.
Do you have an opinion,
For coffee shop.
after you talk to all these people, do you have an opinion of what you suggest would be your first choice?
Let me bring up one other wrinkle.
okay.
And here's the wrinkle that I think we need to discuss. We're currently in a lawsuit. And the lawsuit is primarily being defended by Greg Barston, who's been provided to us by our insurance company. And we also have some need on occasion for the city attorney to get involved in that. So I think there's a valid question for us as a council to think about when you bring, or if you bring somebody new in, and you have this lawsuit that's pending over here, when you bring, if you decide to bring somebody new in, how long will it take them to review documentations and documents and all of that to get up to speed, to go ahead and assist in defending the city along with Craig Barnston? Because if you make the decision to go with somebody new, it will take a while and cost us some money for somebody to get up to speed. The other thing that I just threw it all out there with Aaron would be this. He would be willing to continue to partner with us and Greg in defending the city in the lawsuit that we have. And only that, if we decide to appoint somebody else for all new business going forward. So he's open to that as well too. But I think it's something truly to consider, because somebody would have to come in and going to have to familiarize themselves somewhat.
I felt a little better about Rodenberg after our closed session, but I still,
You did a good job.
yeah, and he did point out some things that were obviously very significant and helpful. Is my confidence level 100%? No.
I like the idea of finishing the lawsuit with Aaron and then moving forward with somebody new, just to start fresh, but.
And I think you can do that now.
We'll retain Ed Rodenberg.
Put it with the lawsuit only going forward.
With the lawsuit,
And
no.
the attorney, Rick Frank, appointing him as city attorney for all new business going forward.
So Vicki, I'm going to amend my motion on item number 3 to appoint Rick Frank as city attorney, but retain the services of Aaron Rodenberg as it pertains to the Winther lawsuit.
Going forward, it shouldn't be,
What's that?
going forward, it shouldn't be this difficult.
I'll second the motion.
Discuss this, is there any further discussion? Okay, so, and that is actually pertaining to inside number 3 to resolution 14-01.
Yes.
So really, we're making a motion to approve 14-01 with those changes, right?
Which I already made that. I was just amending the amendment.
We have a second. All right, Lord, great. So we have a motion and a second as amended. So Councilmember Edelman. Aye. Councilmember Kapoor.
Aye.
DeWitt.
Aye.
Resolution 14-01 with the amendments passed and approved. Agenda item 7, discuss and approve procedures and how we will work with and communicate with the city attorney.
Well, I just think to have multiple lines of communication, I kind of asked to put this on there. I don't know if you guys are on the same wavelength or not, but I think for each one of us to be able to call the attorney is a recipe for disaster in an organization. I mean, you're going to call multiple people, getting the same answers. It's hard for us, especially now, to communicate with each other. So it's not like one of us can call and then fill the other one in on what was said, or, you know. So I think we need to establish amongst us a guideline for that communication.
I think just stop the problems that we've had in the past, you know, and we could call you and you might know the answer without even having to consult the attorney after years of experience. So, yeah, I think you should be the only one that has the authority to call the attorney. Attorney's like that.
I think if we write a policy, I think there needs to be 2 people in case there's a minority with an issue, that there's somebody besides someone, the majority. I would suggest that.
Minority council member.
A minority council member that's got an issue and he thinks the majority is doing something illegal, that he has the ability, maybe not personally to call, but, you know, I would recommend that person probably be the city clerk or city administrator.
Well, you just have to have 3. Because Aaron will need to
We
contact
need Aaron
them.
too, yeah.
I think Aaron will have to contact as well. But I mean, I just don't think, I mean, really, I think, I don't know, would it be too much micromanagement to say anybody has to have permission of either the council or the mayor? I mean, like you said, if we get into a weird situation like we had before, then we're defeating the purpose of the loophole. You know what I mean? I mean, I guess it's something, we don't have to have a policy tonight, but it's just something.
I'd be willing to accept the accountability to be the communication spokesperson with the attorney and getting information back out to everybody. I think it is important that Aaron has access, probably city clerk have access. And I would just as soon empower them so they're not calling and asking me, and then if you think that they're
Right.
using that of some sort, then we deal with it.
Then we'll rein that in as needed.
I don't want Aaron to have to call me all the time.
There are two things that are very specific. One is the dogs at large we frequently work with, and then also nuisance abatement is the frequent headache, and there are going to be frequent questions as the ordinances evolve and moving forward, yes.
So, I mean, we have we don't really have do we need to vote on that, or, I mean, we need to make it official in some way, do we need to draw something up, or do we need to,
Resolution and
do we do a resolution, or anybody know what the right?
It's really not a resolution, I don't think necessarily, it's more just a procedure.
Terry, what would you call it?
At that point, yeah, I wouldn't go as far as a resolution for that. I think just even just a motion that says contact with city attorney will be in this fashion and vote on that, just a motion.
Angela?
That's what we had before. We had just an understanding that the city administrator and the mayor would be the two contacts.
It needs to
That was
be-
even stated at the first meeting of each year,
Well,
and that did not work in the last 18 months. It was cited that because it was not in the code book, then that was not the way it was.
We're going to have that issue.
No, we're not going to have that issue, but we do need to address the codes.
Right, that's on here.
So,
Do we want to in the future include that in Resolution 1401?
We could do that, or we could just change the codes to reflect the wishes on how we want it to work
yeah,
as we go through the code
I think
process.
I think we need
We
to.
have an understanding.
Just for the purposes of holding each other accountable, I think I would like to make a motion that all of the communications, the primary communications between the city and the city attorney be handled primarily by the mayor and with, as needed, by the city administrator and the chief of police.
I would second that.
Any other comments, thoughts, or questions? Councilmember Logan? Cordes?
Aye.
DeWitt?
Aye.
Agenda item 8. Cheers.
The opportunity now to work with Marilyn for a while, and I've seen and heard some of what she went through in the last year that she was here, and from July 9th into July 8th, I think she took on a lot of responsibility, and I think that the city was very, very lucky that she chose to take on that responsibility. And I know that at one time, going back and looking at the minutes, it was suggested that she was to get some kind of a benefit to her that never went through. And I wanted to bring it up again because I feel like she does deserve to have a performance bonus. And the way that my calculations were, I took it based on the hourly suggested rate of the $17 during the time that when they were hiring, that's what they were looking to hire for. And then her pay wage during that time was $13.78, a difference of $3.22, and it almost was for a complete and total year, so it would have been the 2,080 hours, which makes it a benefit of $6,697.60. Was recommendation.
This situation to me was very similar to what happened with Elmer and when he was, well, that was only an officer down there. Have we ever been without the chief of police for any length of time? Well, we were for a little while.
2 months.
How did we handle that for the officers? I mean, first of all, I want to make sure we kind of have a standard here. I don't want to set some precedents that we can't live up to, or I don't want to, you know what I mean? How did we handle that for the officers when he was gone?
Remember we did that.
They had a stipend. They had a stipend.
And that's hard to compare because they're two separate departments, they work in two separate ways, but that's one of my concerns is, are we doing one thing, I mean, they're all city employees, so we have to be kind of consistent, I would think.
Correct.
And I don't know whether this compares to that, or whether, I'm not saying right or wrong at this point, I'm just saying it's a concern.
How does the stipend work again?
They got 250. You know, you could probably tell this, because I remember the part of it, it was $250. I think Kyle had 375.
Do they only get 500 every 2 weeks?
And Justin had
I got it at home in the file. The numbers are just
250 or 275, I can't remember what everything.
So that's,
I can't remember.
and there was 2 pay periods per month.
Normally.
So that's,
And I just want to point out that, yes, they did take on additional, but not for the length of time and the severity
no, agreed.
of what I feel Maryland did.
I agree with
So I got a couple of comments. One is this. We had this conversation a while back with the other councils as well, too. Marilyn did a hell of a job. And we thank her immensely for the great job that she did. And she went above and beyond. And it's very tough to repay her for that time because we were going through a lot as a community. And we do want to recognize Marilyn. It's just a matter of how we go about doing that. And I think this is the first time that the council, we've seen kind of a proposal here. I'd also like to understand what are we suggesting for her as a salary going forward, you know, what the level is that she's going to be. Yeah, I'd like to put the total package together, understanding what the rest of the city has experienced when we have, you know, how long it take in consideration what she's gone through as well. Because we've all gone through ups and downs through our employment here in the city. And then what is the plan going forward for that particular position as well, too? I'd like to know all of that, or think about all of that, I guess.
I think that makes sense. And we have to be realistic with the situation we're in with the city too. There are a lot of unknowns right now. So we have to be realistic about what, we need to do something, but we need to really look at what can we do.
And Vicki, are you suggesting here this is just, she was an acting city administrator, city clerk, and so what you're suggesting here is that she would get paid the difference between what she makes today and what the city clerk
What
would.
was advertised.
Right, what it was advertised at. And it's just a performance bonus for that time period as she was doing that. She would stay currently where she is salary-wise, be eligible for normal raises as performance in Maryland. I don't know what others think.
Where does this proposed money, where does that come from?
Well, we are going to have to amend the budget, and I think that we are going to have to look at wages and benefits coming out of wages and benefits.
Okay. Do you know where we stand on that currently?
Once we go through the budgeting tonight.
But this would be coming out of this year's budget, right? Not next year's budget.
Nidra, do you have a fact you want to tell us?
Yes, I really believe that Marilyn's, what she did and how much responsibility she took over is so much more than what has happened in the past. We have gone without a police chief for a while, and they were compensated somewhat, and I don't know if it's fair or not. This girl lived at this place day and night. She worked so hard, and she tried so hard. She gave us everything she had, and she deserves it. And I don't care where you get it from. The community has to dig in, I'd certainly dig in, because she deserves it. So,
I don't think we're
and I know you're
disagreeing
not,
with you.
I know,
I
it's
agree with
just,
that.
I'm
Yeah,
just,
I
you
know.
know me, I'm an emotional person.
Yeah, I know previously the argument was made that, well, she got paid overtime, but that wasn't her job, that wasn't her position. She went
Right.
way above and beyond, and we do know that, we do acknowledge that. And
Right, and I know you guys do understand,
Yeah.
and I know that, but I just feel like, you know, she put her health in jeopardy
we agree.
with what she did.
I agree.
Erin, you want?
I would also like to say, besides as I was dissecting the officers' wages, bonuses, this, that, the other thing, it's also important to remember, besides the stipend, the officers on weekend call-outs, if they were on call for the weekend, they also received the wages of a part-time officer to respond to call-outs on a weekend. So if the dollar amount seems like it's a large amount to swallow, the police officers, I believe, are getting compensated very well for.
Well, and that's my concern both ways is I don't want to compensate so much that the officers come back, or I don't want to compensate so little that it's.
But that's exactly what I'm saying.
I mean, I just want to make
It's all
sure.
relative, I just like to put that out there. It's like, we definitely weren't underpaid, or the department definitely wasn't underpaid.
Right.
So if it seems like it's a lot for it, it's truly not, because there were a lot of hours submitted.
I know you mentioned a little bit about we don't want to be careful with, you know, sending on the other employees, and I can't speak for Boone or Dustin even, but as myself, we've all witnessed what she did and how it all went down, and we will have no problem with that, or more, or whatever you come up with. We all feel, and like I say, I can't speak for them, but we've talked about this before, and we all feel that she deserves whatever you guys can give her.
She did a phenomenal job, there's no doubt about it.
Well, that's speaking for my department of employees, that it would not be oh, my gosh, she got a big bonus, we don't get nothing. No, we do not feel that way.
Right.
We feel that she deserves whatever you guys can give her.
Not to table stuff, because I know we don't want to go to that point, but what about as we look at the budget and stuff, it'd give us a better idea, since we're all new, as to what money we have, and then in the next meeting, we'd have more idea of what amount. I think we all agree there's an amount, we just don't know what that amount is and where it's coming from. So I would wonder if we could just put it up after we look at the budget.
And we're talking about two things here. So the budget, this would come out of this year's budget.
Right.
Oh, okay.
This
The
year's
budget we're working on, the workshop,
Is next year.
if we have time to do this, we're doing this year. So,
That's what I'm saying.
my,
It's not,
I'm too new to look at this and say, where are we going to get that money from?
So we need, right, so what we need to do is understand the budget, this budget, the current budget we're in, look at the dollars between now and the end of the year, which is June 30th, and determine where these additional $6,600 could come from.
Right.
You want to feel comfortable with that before we commit.
I think we're all in agreement that she definitely deserves something. It's just a matter of, I think we need to make sure we know where it's coming from, but, and I don't want to put this off forever, but just for us that don't know what's going on, give a little more time just to look at the numbers, but.
I'm just going to say this out loud, and it doesn't need to be any response, but I'm sitting here frustrated because now we're saying, and yes, it was a different city council, but yeah, she was worth it. However, we didn't hire her. And to me, that's the frustrating thing we're looking at today, is we want to pay her for the work she did as city clerk. However, our city leadership chose not to hire her. And to me, I'm just saying, I'm having a hard time getting that one through my skull. So I like Lori's idea. That's.
I have one more thing to say. The budget that they hurriedly did for the city, and the person that did it just says, you can amend the budget, and you probably will need to because nobody knew what was going on. And therefore, that could be taken care of in the amendment. Well, the budget doesn't necessarily say, well, this is how much money we have in the bank.
It's operating, annual operating
Right.
budget expense.
And if, if I can help in any way to try to figure out anything I could, but she could.
Well, as far as the money that was not being utilized for wages from that point forward should still, those dollar amounts should be still in that box.
Concern.
Why is that your concern, Jim?
Just have a closed session meeting about those funds.
Let me ask you this then. We're in agreement, we want to move forward.
Yes, yeah.
So what you want to understand is where the dollars.
I'm not saying no.
Whether we amend the budget
Even
or.
remote.
Okay.
I'm just saying, I want clarity.
My sense is we're going to have another meeting probably next week. To continue on with the budget. And it can be on the agenda item at that time. If we get all of our information, put it back on the agenda for next week and make a decision.
And bless her heart for sitting here as we're all there talking about. It's like, well, poor thing.
I hope, Marilyn, I hope we made it clear how much we appreciate it. I mean,
You notice that I was just writing.
this is,
Just keep from starting.
Oh, I just sit there.
oh,
Yeah,
yeah. No, I completely understand. And again, I'm not saying no, I'm just saying I want to know where those funds come from. I want clarity before we just write the check.
Yeah, it's
I mean, and even if we're saying, hey, we're going to write that check in July because of the new budget, or whatever we're saying. I'm not saying no, I'm just saying, I just don't want to write a blank check that we have no idea whether we can write it or not.
So we will get the current budget information out to all of us.
Yeah.
And again, we'll get to there, but I think my assumption is we'll have another meeting next week probably to talk about budget, and we can put that on the agenda at that time.
Okay.
I like that idea.